Nasty Neal.
This is Annabelle Lecter.
And this is dinner.
And a movie.
Two
2 movies.
2 movies for the price of one.
Indeed. So we saw Crimes of the Future.
The new David Cronenberg film.
Yes.
His return to filmmaking, his return to body horror.
So that, and then also Watcher.
Watcher, yes.
Yes.
Which is that one you got to kind of look for because it's really, I think it's the only place I've seen it playing at all. Thank you. And we're at Wynn's Unit Noodle and Ramen, which I've passed many times. I've never eaten here, and I love the sticker in the window, and she has it on her shirt too.
Cute. Yes. And this is right outside of Park Station. It's right next to Boston Common.
Yeah, a couple places they're like, you're not welcome here, so we ended up here.
That's true. Too fancy.
Which
for
I
us.
think we made the right choice.
I think we did too.
And they did too. But Watcher to me is a hidden gem. I think it's not really playing anywhere. It did some festivals, and I just happened to see it was playing. It's you think AMC that they're going to show mostly like first run like blockbuster movies and mainstream stuff, but ours anyway shows a lot of. They show a lot of foreign stuff and they show a lot of independent stuff,
which is great.
So I didn't know anything about this at all, and I just saw it was playing and I thought, well, what the hell? I'll go check it out.
Has Maika Monroe, who I thought it was really funny because the movie I know her from is It Follows, and this one is Watcher.
I didn't even know that was her.
Yeah, she's all grown up.
Interesting.
But funny enough that part of the movie is about her being kind of almost like shoved to the side. So it's her and her guy, and they moved to Romania for his career. And he can speak the language fluently, and she's trying to learn for herself, and because it would be, hey, I'm invested in this for him. And they kind of make her seem girlish, and maybe that's why she was cast. I mean, she's good. I'm not saying that, but she has a look of youth. She's got big doe eyes. And in the movie, she was treated like a girl and kind of brushed off for. I think he even uses the boyfriend and says like this fantasy.
Yeah, he does at one point in the movie. It kind of there's elements of this. It's a completely different movie, but there are elements that made me think of Men. What we saw a few weeks ago. Absolutely.
But
they do a really good job with that. They also do a really good job of really making her. I don't even want to say paranoia, but really, she's first totally out of her element. She can't speak the language of the area. She really seems alone, and you feel like scared for her. Like, you can feel like something. She doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah, she can't So they're kind of like in a nice apartment complex. I don't know. It's very, very nice and fancy. And she can't communicate with anyone around her. Like, things happen, and she wants to get assistance. Anytime she needs help, there's a language barrier.
And I think it actually worked in the movie not doing the subtitles, because then you felt like for her, you felt like you were watching it through her eyes, because she didn't understand what anyone said, even basic things.
Yeah, and so not only is she an other from all these strangers, but she becomes an other from her boyfriend, who is so caught up in his world that she's further isolated because he's just out doing his job and he's got to have this meeting and schmooze these different people.
So she's alone a lot.
Was that? She's alone a lot.
She's alone all the time.
All the time. But she tries to make the best of it, and she tries to get out there and
even alone with other people because of the language barrier.
Yeah. So, the title of the movie is Watcher, because outside of their beautiful apartment space, they have these giant windows, which, like in Men, I don't understand people not pulling the shades. I just don't.
She does, though,
eventually. But I would be curtains. I will be in my new apartment. Hey, I can see them. They can see me. First day, I don't even think it would cross my mind. Can they see me? There's windows of the apartment across the way. At any rate, they don't have those right there. I guess you couldn't really make the movie if they had the curtains to begin with.
Right.
Anyways, so she's looking out, here's her new place, checking things out. And across the way, there's like a few windows together, and there's like slightly obscured, and there's a guy you can vaguely
Yeah,
make
they
out
do a
his
good job throughout
features.
most of the movie where you can't quite, it's like an unassuming guy, for the most part, he really, it's like a silhouette.
Mm-hmm.
Because
And it
then you
was,
wonder, is it the same person later
yeah,
on
you're
when they're
very
walking
confused.
around, and yeah.
And I think there's kind of like a Rosemary's Baby kind of feeling, where it's like this very, she is isolated.
Yeah.
And she is, even though it's different, it's just this idea of she's on her own and this feeling of paranoia. And am I crazy? Am I not crazy?
Yeah, even like I don't know if it's her husband. I think it's her husband or her boyfriend. Either way, but even he's like questioning her.
Yeah.
And it is like stuff that a lot of people would think. Oh, well, maybe this guy. He's looking at you because you're looking at him.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't know. This is another, like you said, it's like men. I don't know what it's like for a male viewer. I know from myself. So at one point in the movie, she's questioning herself. She's adamant. She's not adamant. Is when something like that, like if, for me anyways, if there's a situation where a guy is creepy, you will kind of be like, well, is it me? Maybe I'm being too like concerned. Maybe he's just kind of awkward. In fact, I made a post on About Men after I watched it, and it was like kind of like different opinions about the experience of creepiness. It's not like creepy looking. Like there's a creepy behavior. He was creepy looking, but creepy behavior you don't have to be creepy looking to have that.
Yeah, of course.
And a guy came in, and I think he had all good intentions to say, well, some people think you're creepy when you're not. Fair. I'm sure that does happen. That sometimes it is assumed by men and women that someone is creepy and they're not. But you will question yourself. Like, to be honest, once upon a time, we were at a convention. We were at like the after party, and this weird little dude comes over and he asks like, hey, are you Annabelle Lecter? Yes, I am. Well, I taste like beef jerky. And I'm like, and a little part of me is like, oh, he's just awkward. And I should not have to question that, no, this guy's a creep and needs to go away. Like, who the hell is he to approach me and say something like that? Like, what the hell?
Because even if that is awkward, it's also something you wouldn't say to somebody you just met.
No. Like, who
regardless
thinks that's a pickup line? Really, who the hell are you? Yeah. Did you come up to me and try to have this sexual innuendo about eating you?
Yeah.
No, and it was like, it was creepy. I shouldn't have to question that. Mm-hmm. And this movie, and Men both bring that out. Mm-hmm. Like, you start to question, is it me? And not trust your instinct.
I was just saying about instincts. It's that was a big part of this movie. I think is about trusting your instincts. Mm-hmm. And she tried to even explain to her boyfriend, to the cop, that she can feel him watching her, mm-hmm. and they just kind of roll their eyes like, well, what does that mean?
And they kind of slightly give her a little credit, but then
they're not they're not presented as this total, they don't care at all.
But they do they make excuses. I think it's very inconvenient for people to have to believe that, because what would happen if the guy believed her, if her guy believed her, then what would they do? They'd have to move or get the cops or whatever. If the cop that got involved was more involved, then that would be a nuisance. Yeah. So it's like a nuisance. Well, the guy
a couple times at first does, like, he flips the dude off from the window and stuff. Mm. But then, it's not like a huge thing, but I mean, he has given her credit stuff. But.
And it's so funny because when she says something in the beginning about I'm concerned, he's like, oh, well, it's a good thing you got your big strong man to protect you. And he says it, and it's like kind of cute.
Yeah.
And she laughs, and he's like, I'll just pretend you didn't laugh at that.
Right.
It's like, well, hey, they picked a good guy to play the creep.
I agree. I think he's awesome in the movie. Honestly, I think even just his movements, mm-hmm. He's really good when he's still and not even saying any lines.
Yeah, it's like staring, even when he's not even looking at her, and he's just like, I mean, it's called Watcher. Clearly, the guy is like watching her.
Mhm.
But he's in the store with her, and even just standing there with his basket, it's like,
Yeah, you see, yeah,
he's
and when
frightening.
even when they're really avoiding showing him full on like his face and stuff, just his body movements and
Mhm.
stuff. He's honestly, I think sometimes people think that kind of role, if you're not like in the camera the whole time, maybe that's easy, but I don't think so. I think a lot of people wouldn't have been able to pull that off.
Mhm.
Really, the whole movie, it's a small cast, but everyone's good in the movie.
Mhm.
Especially the two, the female lead and the
And
antagonist.
the guy.
And
Yeah,
I
I don't
won't
think he
say
even
like
gets a name either.
no, I don't think so either. Like, there's not a huge cast, so part of me at first is like, well, this isn't too much of a mystery. Not to spoil the movie, but is this a big mystery? What's really going on? But I kind of think that works for it because instead of like some crazy twist,
It's very good.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
very good. Thank you. The twist is that you should have believed her all along.
Mhm. And that was something she did make a friend with one person in the hallway.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who was like close to her age and cute and friendly, who knows English, and she made a joke about, well, if this guy is, this is a critical part of the story. Early on, you find out that on the news, well, first they're outside going wherever, and there's an ambulance, and there's a dude sitting up. I thought this could be our killer. And she's creeped out by him and thinks this must be the guy in the window. But then he's on. Anyways, there is a murderer out there in the city who is like beheaded one woman and slashed some other. It's like very, very grisly. So
And one part's cool. They even talked to
Yeah.
a survivor.
yeah, and she's got her face blurred.
Yeah.
And I'll just call him Mike. And Mike is watching this news video about this, and you can see she's alone. Go figure. And she's just scared
Mm-hmm.
because she's got this creepy dude staring across from the place next door. And I don't want to tell every single little point of the film, but it was pretty great.
Yeah, I loved it. I was when I saw it the second time, but yeah, it was really like, to me, it's a movie that should be talked about more. Like,
Absolutely. I wish it was like you said, it's not in a lot of places. That's too bad. Well, you said this was not playing at all the MCs either.
Yeah,
Right?
I also because I do want to mention, I believe it's coming to Shudder because
Oh, nice.
the beginning of the movie, which we missed, just honestly just the opening credits, it says Shudder is one of the producers.
Oh, you gotta check it out on Check, I guess.
Which doesn't mean it's made for Shudder, but it probably, who knows? I don't know. A lot of tension in the movie.
Yeah.
Everyone's acted really well. You feel for her. Yeah, it's a really good movie.
It was. I'm curious because Men was like such a different movie because it's more like, kind of reminds me of Mother.
Yeah, it's a much
like,
more
kind of like
stylized.
and
Yeah. It's not.
artsy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it wouldn't happen. Like, it's very clearly would never.
Mhm.
This could happen. That would not ever happen because it's surreal.
Yeah, it's a much more realistic.
As in terms of the theme of, women being victimized and people not caring, how would you compare them, like, just as a guy? Because I feel like when we left Men, you were like, I don't mean that in an insulting way,
No.
like you don't care, but that it was more of a like, I feel like it might have been less powerful for you than this, but I could be wrong.
Well, oddly, in a way, I think some of the themes in Men are more heavy-handed.
Yeah.
Even though it's more
Definitely.
of a stylized movie.
Yeah, but it's like crazy style, like it's crazy.
Oh yeah,
stuff.
yeah. I mean, I appreciate that about the movie. Well, what was the question? Like, which I think more effective?
Yeah, because I think what you said about the heavy-handed is true. Is the symbolism in Men, like it would never happen, but the stuff that they show, it's like there's just like a naked dude in the woods standing there. It is very heavy-handed.
Yeah.
In terms of like what you're seeing visually, and this is, I would say it's completely subtle. Like what's going on the whole time.
Right.
It's scary. but they
It's
both
probably
kind
more
of give a
related. I would
sense
think this
of-
movie's more relatable for a wider audience.
Yeah.
Even though it's not necessarily, it's not going to be a movie for giant, but it's
which
more
is
relatable.
more sympathetic.
More sympathetic?
Yeah, like for the character.
Probably this movie. Like I said, I don't want to say that takes away from anything from them as a powerful.
Yeah.
The
This isn't
symbolism in the
me
movie,
setting
but-
up
No,
Neal
I
to be
understand.
like,
I'm just saying though,
hate-
it's
hate
a hard
that man.
comparison because they are such different movies.
Mhm.
Which is good though. I mean, there's different ways to tell, not really tell stories, but different ways to get themes across.
I feel like, I don't know if it's me, because horror movies are about victims.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they're horrific. There are victims.
You get
it's a lot of
your money's worth here.
I like your bowl.
I have
It's
two.
got some like cool.
Once I get
designs
used
on
to the
side.
insane heat, this is absolutely delicious.
Mm.
Watch
So,
it.
yeah,
I would,
watch it.
find it if it's still playing anywhere, and if it's when it's streaming, check it out.
Yeah, leave comments, argue
Yeah.
with us, agree with us.
Yeah, and it's a good. And if you like it, I think it's a movie that would need some word of mouth to get out there and
Yeah.
get more people talking about it, because I really haven't heard anyone talk about it.
Yeah,
And I think it deserves it.
she is a great hero, I think, as well.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, because there was a part in the movie I thought, oh, well, maybe she's not, maybe it's going to be the male's the hero in this. But I won't give away anything, but that was all done very well, I thought.
Yeah, she really has to hold her own through the whole movie. And sometimes she'll get some help.
Mm-hmm.
But, it was so sad. Her neighbor friend's boyfriend ends up coming involved.
Yeah.
And he's way more helpful than
I was
her own
thinking that
boyfriend.
same thing, even though he's like...
Has nothing
outwardly
to do with her.
kind of like he seems like maybe he's a dick or something, but he's a better guy than I guess any guy in the movie.
The boyfriend might be an okay guy, but he's so caught up in himself. And this stranger he tries to help. It doesn't work out, but it moves the plot along.
Yeah, really good. It looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
I think they did a lot for. I assume it probably didn't even cost a lot, but it looks really good. It's a small cast and everything. But I looked it up before. I forget. I'm sorry. The director. This was her first feature. She made.
Oh, really?
She made a couple shorts and an episode in an anthology film. I think one of the VHS movies. So I would like to check out more of her stuff.
So that was that.
So watch her. I'm gonna go four headless heads.
Headless heads.
Headless heads. Severed heads. Severed heads.
Yeah,
I really liked it. I mean, maybe go 4.5. I don't know. I really liked it. There's nothing I didn't like about it. So
it was a really good movie.
Yeah.
I feel like the dude was a great villain.
I think so too. I also
really
think
creepy.
the runtime's good on it. It doesn't. It's not.
It doesn't drag. Never.
Yeah. No. Exactly.
It tastes good, right?
Yeah. It's delicious. Thank you.
Yeah, enjoy.
Thank you.
It's very spicy, but I like spicy. So.
Okay.
Yeah, watch her. I'm 4.5. I think.
4.5.
I think I'm up because I think about. I don't really have any negatives. So.
Yeah. Yep. But not a 5.
No, not quite a 5. I think
But
I say that for something like but it's really good.
It was really good.
All right, so
the
now
next review, I almost feel like we should do outside because it's really
well, we can finish eating.
very, very intense.
We could finish eating and doing that if you want.
Maybe we should do that.
All right.
Do you think that'll be safe out there with the camera in the park?
Yeah.
Find a place. We'll
think
figure it out. So, yeah, 2 4.5s. Great film, and
Wins is great. Big thumbs up for Wins.
Yes, very, very good.
Very friendly people. The food's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Bubble tea.
I walked by here. I've never stopped before, but I'm going to stop again. And it's a great area because if you go to the theater, you can come right here.
Mm-hmm.
And the bubble tree's very good. All right, we'll be back. Hey, it's Nasty Neal.
This is Sam Lecter.
This is dinner.
And
Part 2.
part 2 of the day.
Yeah.
So we're now in South
It was a
Station.
beautiful South Station. It
Because
was,
there's nowhere to go. Boston has failed us a lot.
yeah, people are saying they're like, oh, there's an hour wait, even though they just took a bunch of people in and there's a lot of people behind us. And we weren't welcome in a few places,
But we're in we didn't used to hang out in Fantasyland. Now we're like near swank hotels and stuff.
that's true.
So they're like, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen us. We don't really blend with the average people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not
Screw
so
them,
much.
but
Yeah.
we still had a good time. It's all that matters.
We did. We had a great time.
Yeah.
Great first movie.
Yes.
Just did the review of
Watcher.
yes.
And then
4.5 from each of us.
yeah,
Very
that's
good.
pretty sweet.
Now
Rocking.
Cronenberg.
Yes, David Cronenberg's return to movies and return to body horror.
Yes.
With this one came out of nowhere, I think. It just kind of popped up that it was at cons, and then
Yeah.
I don't think anyone knew he was making it, but it's out now.
Yeah.
And the name of it is Crimes of the Future.
So, yeah, I thought it was great. I'll be honest, except for the ending. The ending, I was like,
Yeah, I've seen it twice now. I liked it better the second time I saw it, and I still agree though. The end, there's
ending
no
is-
real payoff.
yeah, it's like this. The plot is I think it's very cool. You mentioned earlier we were talking about this. It is very Terry Gilliam like. It's like this dirty, gritty future, and there's
And then, I also like this. Like a lot of the technology's old.
yeah, yes,
And
kinda like-
it's not usually a lot of times in the future everything's like super populated. This is kind of sparsely populated.
yeah. Well, I noticed that other than that one kid, there's no kids.
It's interesting.
So I mean, not that there are areas that kids would be in the movie. It's pretty
Right.
much like gunky, nasty back alleys, but you don't see any kids. But yeah, like Terry Gilliam, this is kind of questioning humanity and the evolution of people and the whole idea of what is human, what is not human, what we should be. And
Yeah, and it's
maybe what we should
interesting
be
what's
concerned about.
accepted, what isn't accepted as we advance.
Mhm.
It's a lot. Even when I first time I saw it, I didn't like it as much. I did think it was very interesting. I do think it's kind of slow and very somber, which is fine. But I do think after a while it does kind of drags. Not necessarily drags, but I do get a little bored after a while. I'll be honest.
That's fine. You can be this cool.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. I thought it was very interesting. I don't know if it's the art part. I think that we're in the future. Human beings are starting to like spontaneously develop internal organs that aren't human organs, and no one knows why. And they're questioning what's happening and should it happen and what to do about it. Yeah, and so that's very interesting. And so the couple, whatever art duo,
Yeah.
Viggo Mortensen. I only remember his name because I know him from other stuff, and a woman, and they're this art pair, and they're in their secret lair, and he is like older and suffering because his body is making so many organs.
Yeah, and there's a thing, and some people are kind of jealous of him because he feels pain, because a lot of people don't even feel pain anymore.
That is true. That's like a key to really the whole purpose of the movie is the human experience and how things change over time, and humans are evolving. That is one of the things is the organs. Another thing is that people don't feel pain anymore. And then there's another thing.
Right, which is kind of the big plot of the movie.
Yeah.
So there's a very weird element. I mean, that you kind of find out about at the beginning.
I don't think it's a good shock.
No, it's well, first you just think it's a kid who eats like plastic, eats it like unnatural substances.
That's like the opening scene. Is the gritty landscape.
Yeah, and the kid just picks up a wastebasket and starts bowing.
He's just a little guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and mom is clearly disturbed by this.
Yes.
So very disturbed. So plastic thing is interesting, but I don't even know. I guess it made sense for the boy stuff.
But some
I
really,
would
it's
watch
so
it
kind of
again
a,
because I feel like there's a
Well, I
symbolism
thought-
here that
yeah,
I wasn't able to see.
I
in
did.
the
I
first
do
view.
think a lot of the stuff watching it the second time, I got better because I didn't understand a lot of kid stuff either the first time around. But it's still a little strange because the idea is like his dad, they want to do this. They're trying to eat the plastic, eat. But then the child of him naturally does it.
Yeah. And the reason they want to eat plastic is because they're wanting to force an evolution where there is all this, the guy says it's industrial waste and it's just accumulating, although there seems to be no created technology at all, so I don't know where the industrial waste is now really coming from.
Right.
Like, you just leave it
It's
there.
just there, yeah.
But anyway, so they're trying to make humans able to digest it. And I guess you just have to do it in increments. So there's this whole thing with the plastic. And I'm sure there's symbolism of that I have wrapped my head around the first thing. And visually, it's really cool. At first, I thought there's some like weird machines that are like very Cronenberg.
I'm a little iffy on some of that stuff. There's a few things that I think in the movie, and there's some, I think, goofy stuff in the movie. It's kind of boring.
Mouth one? The mouth one?
Yeah, and even a scene later on I thought is very goofy.
Which one? Just,
near the end, it's the two women who work on the machines, and later in the movie they eliminate a guy, and then they start kind of skip off, and I thought it was very comedic and very unfitting to the.
Well, I feel like that's one of the things that, where does that go? Like, I feel like I want to believe, at least in my mind, that there is some symbolic gesture to that. I would need to see it again. And I would see it again. Because I feel like there's something here, or either there's something there that I haven't picked up on, or it's just a bunch of shit thrown together.
Yeah.
That's really
Because I definitely don't love the movie. I do like it better the second time I saw it. But I think it really, to me, it borderlines on, there's definitely really interesting stuff. And then there's a lot of, to me, stuff that's kind of goofy and almost like laughable. Like, I don't know, like it's a very borderline movie. Like, and I don't, like I just said, some of the machines, even some of the dialogue I thought was a little, Kristen Stewart, some of her interaction, some of her interactions kind of goofy. And it's weird because when I mentioned Gilliam and one of my favorite Gilliam movies, Brazil, and that's has a lot of serious stuff, but it is also comedic. Mm-hmm. This has a very similar feel, but I don't think the comedy and the serious stuff blends well.
Because I don't think Cronenberg has the attention. He does not seem like a comedy man to me.
Yeah, it's like too somber to be a comedy, and I think it's a little too goofy at times to be completely serious. So to me, it's an interesting movie, but it doesn't completely work for me.
I feel like it's a bunch of stuff mashed together, but I think some of the concepts are really fantastic. I think the whole pain thing and the art part and this like desperation to have something meaningful in such a bleak wasteland.
Yeah, even the idea of is this art? There's a lot of questions. Is this art?
Because they're doing stuff with the organs that is like, okay, so it's very crucial part of the story. These bio machines that humans can, like Vigo's character is dependent on them for survival.
Right.
He would be dead without them. There's a thing that he like plugs into and he sleeps in it and it helps keep his body, I guess, from experiencing too much pain.
Right.
It's something he has to be in to eat. He has to, like, there are these different things. And then they're this art duo and there's a whole other machine that he gets in for them to perform art.
Right.
I don't want to say every single thing. I really think it's worth seeing if you just like weird.
Oh yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. It's very original, and it's very strange, very weird. I agree with all that.
But I also think it's crazy weird shit, but not like Meet the Feebles.
Yeah,
it's like crazy weird shit that's artsy. So if you don't like artsy, I'm not saying it is wool. So I'm saying that people will know what I'm talking about. If you like the films that are artsy, I think you'll probably like it. And if you think things that are artsy are shit, don't watch it because I don't think you'll like it.
Yeah.
So, and sure, there's people on that spectrum, but I know, like, in the horror world, it's so divided between so many movies. Like, Witch. People who like The Witch may like this because it's more of that artsy, very visual.
The elevated horrors.
Indeed. So, but there is there's some really interesting things. I think like the sexuality part is very interesting because no one really has, they call it the new sex. The new sex is pain. There were like some Hellraiser elements to this. Like there was a woman who ended up having slices. And that's part of the art movement is all these different body things.
Yeah, I really like the scene that's used in one of the posters with the guy who's dancing and has his mouth and eyes showing he's got ears all over.
Got ears.
And then even that, like the other people are questioning, this isn't artistic.
Yeah.
And
the one person who's like, this is just, it's like a fraud because they present it as it would be this. Then she secretly knows, guess what? That isn't what they make it out to be. It's actually this. Yeah. It's actually a fraud.
And what we were talking about earlier about like what is art, what isn't art, and we were talking about people are starting to grow other organs, and then the question comes into play: are they willing them to be?
Oh, like subconsciously,
right? Because if there isn't, is there art to that?
And there's like a whole crime element too. Like some things are like organ related or criminal, and so there's like this double agent thing going on. Yeah,
that to me was very Gillian too, very much like out of Brazil with the agency, and you have to register your organs.
Yeah, so I do think those two people, that guy was goofy, but there are goofy humans in life.
Oh yeah,
so that's kind of why we took it is like, here's this. I'm presuming that you think that one guy, the curly hair guy, is goofy. Is that one of the goofy people?
The older guy with the beard?
Yeah, the organ guy.
Yeah, I mean, he is, but I don't think I think he works okay. I think that the two women are, in a couple scenes, are too goofy. And I thought Kristen Stewart was...
I didn't like her. Oh, I gotta say.
I've actually never really liked her.
I have no feelings about hers.
I thought her acting in it was out of place. It seemed...
Go ahead.
It seemed more of an over comedy to me, her acting.
I just thought she wasn't good at the character. So I think it read as comedic. I don't think it was supposed to. I think she was just supposed to be a weird, kind of twitchy. And comes to mind the movie X that I don't really like. But the girl who's filming, who's supposed to be kind of like nerdy and sort of uncool.
Right. Yeah, because she's awkward around the guy that she has.
Yeah, and then that inner part of her that wants to come out. Similar kind of character, I feel. Not carbon copy, but similar. And that, I think, plays very well and very natural. And this is just so unnatural. So I think it really, sorry, Kristen Stewart, I'm sure you're not watching this anyways, but I think it took away from film. I felt distracted by it.
You said about the ending, I do think it's all this build to the big performance in the movie. I don't think the payoff of the performance, I don't know what I was expecting, but I was expecting something completely different. Yes. I didn't even understand a lot of the reaction to it.
Yeah, I think the idea that this was supposed to be, without trying to give too much away, it was supposed to be like the woman was building it up artistically. It's like, oh, we're looking into humanity and the innocence and blah, 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 blah. And then that's so corrupted. Mm-hmm. It's not like an evolution. It's like this was done. This was a criminal thing that has happened to this body because it wasn't natural. There's no way that could be natural. Right. So someone, and then that became, that's going to be against that cause of plastic eating and. So
like you said, there are so many themes that are thrown in together because it's like the idea of a cause and the government and then art. I don't know. There is so many things. Maybe it should have been narrowed down a little bit because they do get kind of meshed up together.
I think it could have been fine. Like you mentioned, Brazil. I think Brazil has so much going on, but it works. It just flows right. And I think this. I don't know if they ran out of time. I don't know if it's like when you watch the TV series Lost and you're like, they had all these ideas and it just, I feel like I really enjoyed it. I thought like some of the I guess kind of like sex scenes, not all of them, but like the one of the couple and they're in their weird bed, like getting cut. I was like, this is really disturbing, yet I find something very tender and sincere to it. And I thought that was very, I don't know if everybody's going to see it that way, but I felt like that was very well played. That this is like, this,
I agree.
In that time was that was the closest you could probably be. The intimacy was very much there.
Yeah. The I will say, I don't know how to say without spoiling it, so I'll try not to spoil the whole thing. But I will say all of the sexualization of the devices and the surgery makes the big performance at the end very creepy to me, because you're sexualizing all these acts, and then so it's weird to me. But
I think it's just like all art. Like you can make it's the way it's being used. I get what you're saying, but I think like there's so many different, like art in general can be very sexual, but it's not always.
Yeah.
So you have tools that can be very arousing, but not always. I feel like it was like the woman was saying, this is now going somewhere else. This is like a new direction of art. It's going to go away from this very adult, sensual, that kind of thing, and actually go to something more meaningful in a different way. The evolution of human beings, as opposed to the carnal here and now. It was a direction. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, and then it was all spoiled. That whole dream was just like gone.
Right.
So it just goes back to the base level where humans at on this like carnal animal. We're looking for feelings.
I don't think there's any animals in the movie either, are there?
That's true. I don't think there were.
It's everything's pretty bleak. It's almost like a wasteland. Not a wasteland, but like kind of like crumbled down society, and these are what's left of it.
It's like abandoned.
Yeah.
Because it's clearly a cityscape through a lot of it. And there's
the agencies of it. There's like very little like police or anything like that.
Yeah. So whether it was intentional to give it that like
it definitely does feel like I don't say another world, but another time.
Yeah.
They do a good job of world building. Like I said, I don't love it, but it's very original, which I would rather see something original that might not work totally for me. That's trying to say something than something just run of the mill that I've seen many times.
Yeah.
And I do think it's worth seeing.
Yes. I have to agree. I think it's. I feel like I said, if you don't like the arty thing, you're probably not going to like it. There's no gore.
No, I actually saw people talk about, it technically is body horror, but it's not like, you're not going to, it's not like the remake of The Fly or Society or something like that, where it's a lot of, there might be a couple gross up things, but it's not really what the movie is.
But it's more about being squeamish about organs and things like that. I think it's not like, exactly. So, but I was thinking, I remember thinking during it, I would be concerned to be, like, I feel like Cronenberg is scary. I think of, like, his mind and what he comes up with. He must be as scary in his internal world. I think would be terrifying.
I think he said that he doesn't even consider his movies horror movies or something, but I don't know. I mean, this is called a drama, which I guess it technically is, but anyway, I don't like to get. I'll have arguments over genre of film. I think it's silly, but let's go see if you like it. You don't. If you do, you do whatever. But it's very weird.
It's very, very weird. I think I will say,
and I did enjoy it a lot more the second time. Good. So I do think it's something. It does make you think. It made me think the first time I watched it too, and watching it again.
Made you think this sucks.
No, I mean, I do think it's slow, and I think it's kind of boring, honestly. But I do think it is interesting at the same time. And I think the main guy, Vigo's great in it. I think he's. I don't think all the acting is. not even necessarily bad. I think a lot of it doesn't connect to some of the other people.
Yeah. Something I noticed, and I don't know if this is necessary for the review or not, but I noticed that he clears his throat. I actually thought there was going to be something that he was growing organ in his throat.
I did too.
But he keeps like, and eventually I noticed he sounds like a horse. And then I noticed, wait, he wears this cool like cowl cloak thing. So the horse thing, then I noticed like it covered his hand the whole time like a hoof. And then the scene with him and the girl, and she's like in his mouth, checking his mouth.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is going? This is another one of those things. I'm like, what is this supposed to mean? Like, does it mean something?
Right.
Like,
when you're talking about
him as a horse in a show,
yeah,
like he's going to be the best in show. Like they even use that expression.
It's interesting when you talk about Cronenberg's movies and him being scary. And some of the things I haven't liked about other Cronenberg movies that people really love is I never feel like you really connect to any of the people.
Yeah.
And watching this, maybe that's something that he thinks about because that's what this is. Movie is really about is what is humanity. And maybe it's something he deals with himself.
That's possible. I wonder what it would have been like with different actors, though. Because I think the one that, really the only one I feel like humanly connected to is Vigo.
Yeah.
Is it? He's great.
Yeah.
He's great.
That might be intentional because he's the one that actually has feelings of physical pain.
That's true. That's true. So it's interesting. I mean, so much like the film was talking about, Cronenberg is a human being, I imagine. He must be a very brilliant person.
Yeah.
Artistically brilliant. The stuff he's come up with is, like you said, totally unique. And I'm sure he's, what is it, 60s?
Yeah, it's going to be up there.
Time,
He's made movies since the 70s. I also find it interesting what not only do they accept, but they also, revere evolutionary changes. And they consider it art and other things that they draw the line at.
Yeah.
And this is not only do they look down on it, it's like unacceptable.
I think I'm glad that you like it more. Even if you still think it's boring.
Yeah, I didn't even hate it the first time. I just thought it was similar things, but I did like it better this time.
Mm-hmm.
You can go back on my Facebook when I first watched a movie. I said it's really interesting, but it was I don't know how I worded it, borderline bad.
So that being said, what are you going to rate it?
3. 3 right down the middle. There's a lot of great stuff in it, but there's also stuff I don't think works.
I did not like the ending. I really enjoyed the movie. I really did. There was a lot of that.
That's like a big thing too. I don't think there's a payoff to it.
That was.
Yeah.
I would watch it again. I think it's really.
It almost
interesting.
feels like the end of part 1, or
right?
or
Yeah,
like,
it does.
if it's a series, this is like episode 2 or 3 into a series.
Yes, I absolutely. But I doubt that will happen.
No, I don't think so either.
So yeah, it was a really unfulfilling ending. But I love Hellraiser. This to me had a lot of Hellraiser-like elements of humanity and pain and all these like what is love or not love and
almost like a not supernatural version of Hellraiser.
So yeah, so for me, if it wasn't for the ending, like I was really going strong with it, I would have given it a 5, but I can't. So I'm going to give it a 4.5. I thought it was super interesting. I was engaged the whole time. It was so not normal. Like I crave to have a movie like that. Like we've seen so many really good movies, but I love how fantastic it is. Gilliam stuff that he's made. There's
shout out to Terry Gilliam. Bus driver loves him.
So yeah, it's like I just think there's no movies like this anymore. So maybe
I will agree. I will agree with that.
Yeah. So yeah, 4.5 for me. I'll watch it again. Absolutely, will watch it again.
Yeah. They said there's no movies like that. Talking to like a lot of independent filmmakers, it comes up that like if you're trying to make a bigger movie, people will they want the movie to appeal to everybody.
Yeah.
And then you have all these different things, and then like it kind of doesn't appeal to anybody at that point.
Yeah.
Where this isn't going to appeal to everybody, but it's a veteran director and storyteller who's putting out his vision, which I do think they said that's important.
So yeah, that's the movie.
That is the movie.
So hope you like the review. I enjoyed watching. I enjoyed meeting up with you. Yeah, rough time in Boston nowadays, but
you might see more of these in this right area.
Straight
Hell,
out of
why not? It works.
South Station.
Yeah, I think it
Dinner
works.
and a movie.
Yeah.
It's been great. We've got like sometimes we'll film someplace that there's no barrier behind the camera and I get a little paranoid.
Right.
But this has like
Yeah,
literally has barriers.
Besides them beeping and telling you to watch your luggage every 10
I
minutes.
noticed the woman. Are they like Amish people or something?
This is every time I'm here. Every
Get
time
out!
I'm here. Yep.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know. I've
going
been
to
dumbfounded for 10 years coming to South Station that there's always all these a group of Amish people.
I don't think they're Amish.
Yeah, I don't know what they're.
No, because Amish people wear black hats. They have straw hats. I don't know if they're Quakers. Quakers
Maybe
are very nice people.
they're Quakers. They're not like ascetic Jewish people, I don't think.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
But yeah, I've been seeing them for 10 years coming up to South Station.
I noticed a
Only
woman by
here,
herself.
nowhere
I thought
else.
maybe she was a nun. She had like the big bonnet
Yeah.
hat and all black and kind of, body hiding.
The first time I just thought like it was Amish people.
I
on,
just
like,
thought it was a band.
vacation or something, but yeah.
Huh.
Make
Well,
a buzz. But
there
hey,
you
good
go.
for them.
Yeah, getting out and about.
Yeah.
They're probably going to that gay pride rally with the horns like,
You always say,
No,
they're
they-
great people. They're out there with pitchforks.
because there was a big gay pride rally in Boston today. I had no idea.
No, I didn't know either. It was a nice
Good time in
surprise.
a
Yeah.
shirt. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So here we are.
Well, look.
Yes.
This is a small thing for me to put up with compared to people who put up with these things their whole life. But a lot of people say they really like the shirt, which is nice.
There you
But
go.
I've seen several people give me really dirty looks
Really?
walking around. Yeah, at
No
first
kidding.
I thought it was my
Are you
imagination.
sure it's not just you as a human?
No, I'm used to that. Look, but yeah, I've noticed.
That's really sad.
Yeah, I agree. But also, primarily nice mentions. People like it. So
Yeah, it was very cool in Boston Common. There's like little tents with all kinds of stuff. There's just people everywhere, very prideful people. There's
Yeah.
like a
there's some wild
march
shirts that I
was going
wouldn't wear.
Oh my
but
Lord.
good for them. If someone wants
You feel free to tell the world what they said.
to. I feel
Come on
awkward.
now.
It was
You
like
blush.
the boy Clint shirt and the girl Dick shirt.
What did it say? It was like, didn't
It wasn't.
say
It was like the
it was
girl
something-
Dick gay,
That might have been it.
and the other one was it was boy Click, I think.
Maybe. I don't know. I was just like, my eyes, my innocent eyes.
I wouldn't mind getting a button that just said, but not that. But,
I was like, wow. Deal. No?
I
But
like.
it's-
Oh, yeah.
What? Yeah.
I was gonna say I don't like to wear stuff that have any type of bad language.
You don't like wearing provocative clothes, like,
Right.
mass
I mean, I do walk
murders
around with
and,
like I do think
Motel
about. I don't want to.
Hell and certain
That's totally
film
fine.
and-
Forget what I said. Do as I say, not as I do.
So there's provocative Neil Jones.
Yeah, it all depends. I remember one time I forget what I was wearing, and I thought I was dressed normal, and Annabelle was like, "Dude, you're wearing like some crazy shirt." I don't know. I have my own rules in my mind that make sense to me. They don't always make sense when I say them out loud. In my head, they
Alright.
work. Yeah,
That's okay.
Yeah.
You're just being you.
right, sure.
You don't have to think about it because you're just you.
Exactly.
The way it should be.
Shoes are pretty sweet.
What's that?
The shoes are pretty sweet.
The shoes are sweet.
You can't see it.
You can't see them, but they're pretty sweet.
Yeah.
They're blue and yellow and like, wow, they look fast.
Yeah. I can. So yeah, it was a really good time. I'm glad this worked out.
It worked out.
It
We
was
thought we were
kind
going
of
to
a
have to zoom
bummer,
from
but
home.
yeah.
We were just like, here,
Yeah,
like,
which
well,
is fine.
see you later,
Exactly,
Neal.
but yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I guess we can just like
Yeah, you want to do a quick review of The Sadness?
sadness. Yes, we can do a quick review of the
All right.
sadness as well.
If we-
I'm
as
trying
long
to
as
draw it
we-
up into my mind. So
Yeah.
we'll do the mini sadness review.
Mini Sadness review.
Sadness.
This is insane. This movie. It's on Shudder. I was actually kind of surprised they show so much stuff on Shudder. It is super graphic. I love the movie. I seem very split on this, but it was my kind of. I was in it right to begin with. It's very violent, very graphic.
It's got rape, so Neal's
It's a
all-
lot. It's a lot of rape in it. But it's a wild movie, and it's in no way a zombie movie. But it's labeled zombie movie. but
Yeah. Yeah. It
It's
has that
even less. I
mask.
know people say like 28 Days Later. This is way less zombie movie than even that.
Oh yeah, it's an infection, and then people go crazy, and they start being sadists, and they're just horrific. So I think my hopes were too high.
Probably.
I think when I
'cause
saw
didn't
it,
know
you were like,
anything
it's
really about
amazingly
it.
great,
Yeah.
and I was like,
I knew
Yeah.
nothing about it going in, so it's like, oh, what the hell's going on?
the villain was
Great.
an amazing
Yeah.
actor. He was so good.
I
He
had
was so good.
a thought on the movie, a
Mhm.
political thought, but then when I interviewed the director, he's like, he had no political things in the movie whatsoever, so I didn't bring it
Oh,
up.
because you thought it would be like COVID related or something.
Well, I mean, that's a little obvious, but there was
Yeah.
something I actually thought was not to put some of our audience up, but the rise of Trump, in my opinion, gave people a sense that they were free to be a horrible person on the outside. You were free to say like your inner hateful things
Mhm.
and things like that. It was like they probably had it pent up, and now I'm free to say it. And I thought, well, maybe is that what the sadness is? All people are terrible, and now they're free to act on these.
I'm going to counterpoint this.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to devil's advocate this.
Right.
From the other side,
Uh-huh.
they may view this as
That's very
people that these people who are being sadists, in part sexual sadists, is that like the liberal left who's like
Interesting.
having
That's what real art
gender
should
and
do.
sexualities
Is
and
you could
things like
ask
that.
about it, and then
Yeah.
the guy who wrote it was like, no,
Nothing.
my
But
mind.
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah,
can
that's
see
good.
that the right people would be, that are, not all right people are anti-gay and
Yeah,
all this different kind of stuff, but
Sure.
but I can imagine some people saying, oh, this is representative of.
So I like the counterpoint.
Right? So
Yeah.
didn't really even put that much thought into it at the time, but I could definitely see what you're saying.
Yeah, no, what you're saying makes sense too. And honestly, I think it's good if you could have a discussion either way about what
Yeah.
something's trying to say.
Honestly, and I
then
think
it's
people
funny,
will.
wasn't trying to say anything.
Exactly. And I think this is a thing that a lot of people will criticize when people think too much about a film. It's like,
I'm
who
just-
cares? If that's part of the entertainment value for someone to overthink it, then why do you care?
Yeah,
Like, just
exactly.
let me and Neal overthink it.
Right,
Like,
right.
it's not a big deal.
Yeah, sometimes it's cool. Sometimes I want to see a movie, which this works. It's just a movie to watch and see wildness. So yeah,
It is
whatever.
wild. And I have to say, because you were like, I was going to watch it in Planet Fitness because I'm trying to go to the
Right.
gym. And so I put the thing up if I'm doing like the little elliptical, so I would put it up and I turn down the brightness all the way.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
try to watch horror movies when I'm there. And Neal's like, no. You can't do
Yeah, don't do
that.
that. So, yeah, I was surprised though it was on Shudder. Honestly,
It
But-
was not as graphic as I thought it would be. I feel like a lot of it was implied.
he said the same thing to me.
Yeah,
but,
it's a lot implied. Like the villain and the eye socket of the chubby girl.
yeah,
That was no, you didn't see anything.
Uh-huh.
Like you knew what it was happening,
yeah.
but
And well done, Gore. Though the Gore is really good.
it is really good.
But yeah, the villain has a lot of. He said that's why he didn't want to do a sequel because he said without the actor who plays the villain,
Yeah.
he had so much presence and stuff. So,
Yeah, he was wonderful. I wonder how we found him. Because I looked him up as an actor,
yeah.
and maybe there's been a lot, but don't think tons and tons of stuff. And it seems like there's no horror stuff that I saw.
Yeah, I don't
thought
think
this guy's got to be in
I don't think he did horror
But
stuff.
yeah, but neither did Dieter Laser.
Yeah, that's true.
Other than that Lex show, which wasn't really horror, but
Yeah.
sci-fi. Yeah, so I thought it was pretty good. I wasn't like totally in love with it.
Yeah.
I think the acting was all good. That guy stood out, but I think the
Yeah,
acting was
I
all
agree.
good.
I love it. I'm going 4 of this. I think it's if you want to see just some crazy
It is crazy.
graphic. I think it's pretty graphic. Yeah. But anyway, it's crazy.
Interesting thing though. So there's I don't think we talked about this yet. So there's one scene, and it's crazy, where the male, the lead, he's wandering the countryside, reasons, and he happens upon the scene with the boys that are like taking out.
Oh yeah.
They're like, they're infected, so they're all horrible. And they've got this man, and he's all messed up and unconscious. And they take him, and they have his legs open, and there's a pole. And they back up, and they ram him into that pole. That's a normal thing there.
Really?
Yes, that is a
That's
hazing
nuts.
thing that happens there. I don't remember how I started. Like once I saw the movie, I'm looking up all this stuff, and I just thought that's so weird. It must have been in like a list of things about the movie, and it was like a blurb. And I looked it up, and it's like a hazing normal male rite of passage thing.
Wow.
And they said they're usually pretty gentle about it, but
Right.
it's something they do, and totally normal.
Wow.
Highly recommend looking it up because it's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's fascinating that any culture would feel comfortable taking a man and ramming his intestines. It's like
Yeah,
your
it doesn't sound
junk
like a good
is just
job.
like boom. I know. I mean, maybe in your mind, like you do it, like you have it done to
It's
you,
like
but you also get
Jackass.
to do it to other people.
Right.
So like there's this weird sadomasochistic kind of thing going on. I don't know. It's very, very strange to me. So I do wonder what other kinds of cultural elements are in it now that I know that I wouldn't even be aware of.
Right.
But yeah, it was cool. It was interesting. I definitely don't think any of the characters were scary. I didn't think like, oh, what if this happened?
Oh, sure.
Sometimes I feel like movies, it's like, oh, what if that did happen? Like 28 Days Later scared me. Like, oh shit, that's terrifying. But there's different elements to that too. It's a very different film.
That's a lot about what people would be like if things, start to go bad.
And this is
This isn't any.
this
of that. This
yeah.
really isn't. Well, I guess the very ending, but
the very ending.
Yeah.
That doctor. The babies. Yeah.
so 4 for me.
I'll go with 3.5. I won't say it's a 3 because 3 I feel is like a C. This is better. This is a C plus.
All right,
I'm
fair
not in
enough.
love.
I got you.
It's all right.
It's all right.
It's all right. Not bad by any stretch. And that guy though, that actor would be a 5.
Yeah, he's
The
great.
actor was
Yeah,
amazing.
and I just wanted to also recommend both of us Hellbender on Shudder. Something I think people should check out.
Oh, the one by the Addams people.
Yeah,
Oh,
and very
so
cool
good.
for them. Joe Bob showed it and had
Really?
had them on.
That's very sweet.
Uh,
It's the 3. There's 4 people in the family. The
Yeah,
mother,
and the-
father, 2 daughters.
Right.
One daughter doesn't really care,
No,
Right.
so it was.
So
it was
she's
the other
uninvolved.
3, yeah,
but yeah,
and they performed too. They sang
they're good.
on
Yeah,
Joe Bob.
they're
So that was
good.
very cool.
That's awesome. But that is a fantastic, very micro budget film that you said they made just during COVID, right?
Yeah, there was her COVID movie because I think she's homeschooled, but
Mm-hmm.
and they just travel around and filmed it, the 4 of them. So.
Yeah, and the premise roughly is there's a woman and daughter, teenage daughter, and they live isolated in like kind of like a little home in the woods.
Yeah.
And mom keeps her totally isolated because something is wrong with her. That if she were to be around people, would be sick and it would be very bad. And it tells the story of the daughter is curious and wants to go out of bounds, and it just goes into interesting and dark places.
Right.
And it was very good. They did an amazing job.
Yeah. And then was she protecting the daughter, or is she protecting other people from the daughter? It's really cool. And it's a cool modern folk horror movie, which I think sometimes that term gets thrown around too much lately.
A lot.
Like just
It's like
everything
anything in the
is folk.
woods.
Yeah.
If you're in the woods, chuck it on the board. There's I wish I could remember the name of it, but it literally was. It was like people in the woods, and there was some preppy people that had a cult. It's like, this wasn't enough. It just wasn't. It wasn't good.
Yeah.
But
anyways, I do think it's cool that Shudder carries a lot of foreign stuff that you probably wouldn't see otherwise, a lot of independent stuff that, might not have the eyes on it otherwise. So it's, and then plus a lot of classic stuff.
Yeah.
It's a cool channel. It brings a lot of cool stuff to people that, might not be able to see it otherwise. Not that long ago, a lot of the foreign stuff, like, very few things would like The Ring or something. But but now you can see a lot of this stuff.
And like The Ring, I think most people got exposed to that because it was
because of the
Americanized.
remake, the American one,
These are just in their raw form, as they're meant to be.
Yeah.
So, even though the Sadness, the Taiwanese film, is made by a guy from Canada, it's still technically international because he's from Canada.
Right.
So yeah. Great films.
Yeah.
Lots of good stuff going on out there in the horror world. There's like something for everybody. I feel like there's really so much going on. There's a lot of complaints that there's not enough going on. I feel like it's a very
I'll be
rich
honest.
time.
I agree. I think there's been some great horror stuff in the last couple of years. And whenever I see people complain about only Marvel movies at the theater or remakes and all this stuff, there's a lot of good stuff. You just have to, even not just at the theater anymore. You just, like you said, Shudder and other streaming sites, Tubi and stuff.
Yeah.
But you have to support it, watch it.
Yeah. You have to go, I think maybe there's like a level of laziness to this. Because when we, honestly, we're only back in the day, you rented movies.
Right.
And if you wanted to find something cool, you'd have to seek it out in your community. Cable didn't necessarily carry those independent, interesting things. You'd have to find it. You'd have to go to the theater to see stuff. You'd have to go to a Brattle or a Coolidge. There was a lot of work put into that stuff. Now it's at your fingertips at all times. Just take a second, browse around.
Something I want to battle against that I still see not as much as I used to, but I find it very annoying, is when people will put down Amazon exclusive or made for Netflix or made for Shudder.
Because a lot of it's really good.
Those days, you're living in another era when you say oh, that looks like a made for DVD movie or made for VHS movie.
Yeah.
It's a different time. I
think COVID.
Martin
really
Scorsese made a movie for Netflix.
Yeah.
With Robert De Niro and
was
Al
that
Pacino.
COVID times?
No, it was pre-COVID.
That's interesting. But COVID really did, I think, cement that this is the new way of film to be presented.
Because that was during the time, when people couldn't go to the theater.
Yet at the same time, I don't think theater is dead. I wrote a post the other day about, I don't remember what it was. I think it was about the Munsters movie, which I don't know if you want to talk about that at all. But there was talk about direct-to-video and stuff like that. And someone said, we got to face it, theater is dead. And I'm like, it isn't though. When you have Batman in every theater, in a movie theater, that means there are enough people out there going to the theaters to just one movie. If one movie can carry every theater in America.
I go to the theater every week. I see multiple movies every week. Jurassic Park opened this week, and I think it was a lot of it was sold out. I will recommend not just the AMC, definitely support your local theaters. Get memberships to things, because we ended up both getting memberships. Yeah, it's a great deal. It's 21, I think, or 22, something like that. That one movie costs $10.79 at the least now. I think. I think during regular time, it's $15. Yeah, and then it's $20 or more if you get the 3D or Dolby Cinema. That's right. So it's true. You see even if you saw two matinees, this pays for it. Yeah. Yeah. And if you see multiple movies, you really make out really well. Yeah. Is there a max? Just 3 movies a week. 3 movies a week is a lot of movies. Yeah. All right. Nice. Thank you. Thanks.
Yes.
Munsters.
Are we going to get into this? We can.
Yeah.
Predictions. We should do
us-
predictions.
All right, predictions.
Predictions.
As soon as I heard they were doing
So-
the Munsters, like I want one or two things. Like they're going to make it, completely different. Be like an R-rated Munsters.
Mhm. They meaning whom?
Rob Zombie. Or you're just gonna have new people like pretend to be the old Munsters, and it just doesn't. I don't understand. To me, it comes off like when every 20 years or so they have like the new Three Stooges, and it's people trying to act like the Three Stooges. It just looks like cosplayers from a convention or like an SNL skit or something.
I have to admit, I think Grandpa Munster, that finally, I warmed up to that.
Really,
I warmed up to Grandpa Munster. But I think
Herman's really
Herman's.
whoa.
And it's not against the actor. He's a good actor. I like that guy. He's fine. But it's just, but a question, because you were talking about having old things and trying to bring them to new. What do you think about the Addams Family?
That's
With Ralph
interesting.
Julia?
That's interesting because I love the movies of Adam Sandler. I love the old show,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm looking forward to the new one. So I don't know
the
what
Wednesday TV show?
really. Some people said because the guy who plays Gomez in that, I can't think of his name.
Raul Julia in the
No, in the new one.
in the new one.
Saying he's not not good looking or whatever, but
Have you seen Gomez from the cartoon, like the comics?
from
He's
the
not-
comic,
This
guy
is
looks
freaking.
exactly like him.
Well, that's a little rough.
Well, he looks.
I don't know if he looks
He looks
exactly
more
like
like
him.
I think he will and stuff. But he looks more like him than anyone who's actually
Well,
played him
I
in
think
live
Raul
action.
Julia was very good because
Oh,
I
he
think he
was,
had the
but
eyes.
he was,
He had those
but I'm
very
saying this
round
guy actually
eyes.
looks more like the actual.
I'll have to see. I'm curious. But the Burton thing, I'm like, well, I have to assume Johnny Depp will be in it. Like, please stop. Please. Like, this is not about the trial, any of that. 'Cause I don't have feelings against Johnny Depp. But, God.
It's weird. I actually
Bring someone
supported him.
else
I actually
in.
supported him in the trial. I know some of my friends won't like me saying that. But I don't know. I've actually never really been a big fan of him as an actor. Not, at least not for a long time.
That's okay.
He's actually some of my least favorite performances ever. I think his performance of Willy Wonka is one of the worst things that's ever been in a
In
movie.
cinema.
Yeah, that and probably the
And
worst
his,
character I've ever seen in any film is his character in Tusk.
No, I forgot about that. I blocked it from my memory. And
But
then
I
his
mean, there
White
are stuff that
Bulger
he's,
is freaking
oh yeah, that's
awful.
bad too. There's a lot of stuff that's bad.
He was
Zorro
good
was
in
bad.
Edward Scissorhands.
Okay, yeah, Edward
That was a good
Scissorhands.
film.
I think the last thing I saw him
It's a
that I thought
silent
he was
role.
good was Sweeney Todd. He was good.
I never watched that because I got to the point. When I was a kid, I loved Tim Burton movies. He made such a diverse range of, like, Batman,
Yeah.
Pee Wee Herman, Edward Scissorhands. Like, those are some of the top things he was coming out with at that time. Amazing. And then it kind of like got into a lane. Nightmare Before Christmas then set his lane. And maybe that's where he always wanted to be. Maybe
Yeah,
he
but
didn't
you
want
didn't
to
even
do
direct
that stuff. What's that?
He didn't even direct Nightmare Before Christmas. He's
Who directed it?
someone that no one knows of because that's actually a really good episode of the movies that made us on
Interesting.
Netflix.
But it's all his art design.
Sort of. I think
Really?
I
No
think
kidding.
really the woman deserves a lot of credit. There's a lot of
Oh,
people
that's
deserve credit.
unfortunate.
He basically drew
Surprise.
like one guy and then like
Really?
and the, like
Wow.
you should watch that episode.
I will have to.
A lot of people
'Cause
don't
that's
get credit
upsetting.
for the movie who actually made the movie.
That's interesting. We were just talking earlier when we were between films about Del Toro and Jordan Peele, and that they'll have these big names attached to things for a selling point.
Yeah.
But then there are all these people that should get credit, and maybe like it's nice that their movie got out there,
Right.
but it kind of it's
Because even
very
says Tim Burton's
hurtful.
A Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, it's like hard when you make a product and it's so good and no one associates it with you.
Mhm.
That's sad. Like Deborah Hill did so many things for John Carpenter way back,
Yep.
and people I don't think he intentionally suppressed that.
There's that documentary about George Lucas's ex-wife too. I think it's like it might be independently, but either way, it's a lot about She
being
deserves a lot of
useless.
credit for the original Star Wars and
Because then they
Empire Strikes
separate,
Back.
and then his movies turned to garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And supposedly had her blackballed from working in movies after that.
And I believe that Herschel Gordon Lewis also was had women that were. There's one woman in particular. I don't recall her. It's so sad. I don't recall her name, but she did so much, and she's just. Whoa, please. So I mean, it happens.
Yeah. But,
I thought that as a person, I'm very bad about keeping up with making art, but I've made a lot of art, and I thought I'm just going to make a new profile that has a man's name and see what happens.
interesting.
Yeah, I just want to see how it goes. I think it'll be interesting because I see people who make art that's very good, but I'm like, I think my art is pretty good.
No, I think it's great, honestly.
And
That's
yet-
just you're sitting here.
And yet, it's like, I don't know. Not like I want to be a millionaire. I think that I should have thousands and thousands of followers or anything like that. It's just like, I don't know. Like I see, like I don't have sales or anything. Like, I don't know. It's just very weird to me. And I do wonder if that is because I don't know. I'm going to have to make my fake profile and find out the truth.
Yeah, be like your Richard Bachman.
Exactly.
I have a theory that because I've been reading lots of Stephen King
Mm-hmm.
these last few years, and anytime anyone has sex in a Stephen King book, and it's like either if it's like nice or normal, like it's like a little sentence. But if it's like rape or something totally disgusting, it's like the whole chapter in detail. It's gross. And I was like, I wonder, because he had Bachman, and then people found out. I'm like, I wonder if he has some fake name where he writes like really nasty, like erotica.
I guess it's possible.
He's one of those guys who writes all like the mummy maybe gay books and all that.
That's not what I had in mind. Oh, well, we got a lot of stuff out here today.
So Munsters, I think, looks like
Munsters
crap.
looks silly.
Yeah.
And
But we'll probably watch it. So
yeah, we have to watch that. We have to watch it.
All right.
So
Wonderful
until next time, great
good
time.
Food, good times, good friends,
Drinks and
good
friends
drinks.
and the whole shebang. So we'll see you next time.
Bye bye.
Movie.
Yeah, rate, comment, subscribe, share, tell all your buddies.
Neal